Shanti. So this morning I was given a topic by Shiru Ben was saying that share, not the class, but share some experiences on freedom. No? So I think that some of us are lucky enough to be in Madhuban to hear both Mulis, 30th November Muli, and the latest is 15th December Muli. So for me personally, if I just look at these two Mulis, it gives a certain direction that what Baba wants, especially for this coming year, and also for the next year. So I feel very much that these two Mulis, is very, very different from the past Havyak Mulis in the sense that the focus that Baba wants is mainly on two focus. Personally, what I experience is, firstly, the focus is very much effort from the intellect, to move away from the effort from intellect to effort from the heart. And secondly, I think the latest 15 December Muli, what Baba wants is, we have served the self long enough, What he wants basically to serve the family. And we know that the service that we did very much is the four types of service all of us are very well aware of. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we have a balance in these four types of service? Whether serving the self, serving others, serving God, and serving the family. I think the focus that Baba wants very much now, as I was mentioned earlier, is serving the family. Because before Baba leaves, as all of us aware that Baba was asking Dadi two questions. The question was whether the 108 bigs are ready. And Dadi's reply was ready, it's ready. And what about the 16,000? He was asking whether is it 50% ready or what? And what is Dadi's reply? More than half. So I think what Baba wants, the trend of our effort making now is very much in, we've served people outside more than enough, I think important serving the fellow Brahmins. So this topic, this morning topic, basically on the subject on true freedom. So one thing I always ask myself, the question is, if we look at all the Mulis, Sakka Muli and Havyak Muli, which particular virtue that we love very much? Some of us may love on purity. Some may love on peace, But for me personally, is every Muli, every line that Baba's mentioned in the Muli, whether Sakra Muli or Havyak Muli, is basically to liberate us from bondage. So what is freedom? Freedom means liberate us from bondages. So look at every line of the Sakra Muli that we can just go back and revise back. Every line or every paragraph that Baba mentions is basically to free ourselves, liberated from the bondages. And I think especially those sitting here, including myself, we have gone through different types of education. Some have gone to the Eastern education, Western education, and the meaning of truth and freedom is very subjective. So some may say that Western education, basically the main focus is to liberate the ourselves. But what Baba teaches us is not Eastern education, not Western education, but godly education. So I think the only education that liberates us from all these bondages is only through godly education, not through the Lokik education, whether it's Eastern way or Western way. So when we talk about freedom, I think basically it means free from limited attractions. So the simple definition I would think about this, free from attraction, limited attraction. So what we're going to share this morning is we talk about day-to-day Brahmin life, day-to-day, the types of bondages that we face, because to be free from, true freedom means that free from bondages as a Brahmin. So this morning after the class, after Muli class, I was thinking that what are the bondages as a Brahmin that we create within ourselves? So basically there are 8 bondages. I was churning about what are the 8 bondages that we create within ourselves that Baba wants us to free from these 8 bondages. So I think before that test, during the 15th December Muli and the 30th October Muli, Baba talks on 2 things basically: liberate from the old world, no, old relationships, and secondly also liberate or free us from. We need to make effort to free from the old nature, old sanskaras, no. So back to the question is, what sort of bondages that we have to free as a Brahmin? So the first bondage, I think, very, very essential, being a Brahmin, I think, is we have to free ourselves from relationship between Brahmins. No? Either student has student, or either has teacher has student. Because most of the bondages, sometimes when we come long in knowledge, is the bondages that we create ourselves is either has students and student relationship, or has teacher and student relationship. I think very, very essential that I love 2 words when we came in the early days in Gyan is, when we came, we are not so much as a teacher as such, you know. I think I love 2 words that Baba mentioned very much, that this be a yogi. We came as a yogi, we came as God's child. So sometimes we are too caught up in being a teacher or a student relationship that we are caught up in that bondage. And I think essentially on this aspect, very important is, between fellow Brahmins, we don't teach each other. No? We don't teach each other. We just inspire each other. And sometimes, as along the path of making effort, we forget that who is the main teacher. You know? I think the 15th, the 30th October Muli has one of the class that Dadi gave. Is Baba's focus is very much diverted. He was saying that it's not the time to give any more corrections or teachings, but it's a time to give 2 things. You know? If you remember the 15th December Muli, now it's a time to give love and cooperation. It's not the time to give any teachings. It's not the time to give any more corrections to others. So I think essentially the first bondage as a Brahmin, very, very essential, is free ourselves from that bondages of teacher and student relationship or student and student relationship. The second bondage, I think, very essential as a Brahmin is bondage to service. What do you all think? The service frees us, or the service binds us? Are we bondage to service, or service gives us freedom? What do you think? Yeah? Should give us freedom. Ideally. Ideally should give us freedom. What would the rest feel, the brothers? Service gives us bondage or freedom? Yeah? But ideally, what Baba wants, you know? Important what God wants from us. Yeah. I think very, very essential when we come, we just look how Baba served the world, no? So on one hand, he served the Bhagats. On the other hand, he served the Brahmins. And yet, he doesn't have any bondage. I think very, very, very essential is the ideal. We talk about ideal as such, you know, that we want that service. We shouldn't be sort of caught up in service. That means we are in bondage in service. I think all of us know very well that basically bondage in service happen because of the wrong consciousness. You know? Either we are not really as an instrument conscious when we are doing this service. And at the end of the day, I think the very underlying factor is whom are we doing service for? You know? Or some even say that, so what is service? Service is just giving God's message, that's all. Nothing else, no? So I'm just in between God and others, and just give the service and give the message and just step back. So I think important is now the second essential thing that we shouldn't buying to service is, as I was saying earlier that the main thing why we serve others is to get Baba's power. From God we get power. We don't get power from others, no? We get blessings from others. So from others, whether we are serving others or serving Brahmins, we are getting blessings. And from God we get power. So this is the second bondage that we shouldn't caught up as a Brahmin, means bondage to service. The third type of bondage sometimes we caught up very much is bondage to our own opinions and opinions of others. You see, one very, very important thing we ask ourselves is, As a Brahmin, we have any idea, no? Whether service idea or whether things that pertain to our Lokik family is the first person whom do we approach. So very often as we grow as a Brahmin, sometimes we want opinions, we want sort of ideas. Is very often we approach humans. And forgetting that we come here, why do we come here? We need to take God's teachings. So sometimes in between activities, in between interaction is we forget whom should we approach. I think very, very essential is we have any ideas or opinions or sort of touchings or whatever you call it. The first thing we have to verify, check is not with fellow Brahmins, not with ordinary people, or not even with our Lokik as such, I think first thing has to check with the seniors. Because very often we check with the seniors very much later. That means our opinions are being polluted or diluted. So we check with here, we check with this, we check with that. At the very, very last hurdle, we check with the seniors. And what happens, if that happens, then some confusion comes. So to be liberated from this third bondage, or bondage to my own opinions or opinions to others, is the checking, if any ideas, if any sort of things that comes to the mind, whom should I check first? So as we know, the Yaga is such that it has created a system. The seniors are there. So the first thing that if I have any thought of anything, whether pertaining to a job, to service area, to my financial situation, to Lokik, is check the first person is Baba's right instruments. Okay? So there's a third type of bondage, I think very, very essential, that we shouldn't have bondage to our own opinions or opinions of others. And fourth bondage, I think very, very important is, we being double foreigners, is not to be bondage to a Lokik job. I think 80% of us have a Lokik job here, am I right? Most of us have Lokik job. Who doesn't have Lokik job here? The other way, who doesn't have Lokik job? Not. Okay, I think about probably 90%, no? Or 95%, no? All of us have a Lokik job. So I think the fourth bondage, very important, is not to have bondage in our Lokik job. And very often we come as Brahmins, sometimes we don't have a balance, proper balance. In our Lokik environment, that boss changes, managers changes, supervisor changes, and the business times changes, the economic times changes. So sometimes we are too caught up in the job. That means our heart and soul is in the job. And if anything happens to the job, that probably, if we don't have a proper balance, then it does affect our Brahmin life. That's why it's very, very essential being a Brahmin and having a Lokik job. And I think this couple of Mulis Baba love very much. Latest Muli Baba was saying that double foreigners make double effort. We have double effort. We have not only we're doing double service. The 30th October Muli, we are doing triple service. Service of Lokik job, service of family, and service to the Yagi as well. So once you have a Lokik job, I think very, very essential is you must really have a right balance in the Lokik atmosphere. Really, really very essential, because sometimes too much of our energy is focused on a Lokik job. So by the time we come back home, we don't even have time to cook proper meal. And sometimes we don't have time even to offer food to Baba as such. Sometimes we just feel that we are too tired. Excuses. We don't get up in the morning. Or sometimes excuses that, doesn't matter. If I'm too tired, too much of job, I can't come in the morning, I can come in the evening. So I think the underlying main thing that no matter how busy in our Lokik job, never compromise the disciplines. Whether getting up, whether cooking, whether coming for morning Muli, never compromise that. Because once it's lack in the disciplines, that definitely affects the work very much. So I think important is sometimes you ask ourselves then, that why do we need a Lokik job? Why do we have a Lokik job for? Even I think the couple of Mulis Baba was saying it's mainly for service, means and ways of serving others through a Lokik job, making contacts, or probably earning whatever we earn, to put in the yagya, to multiply our fortune. The way however we look at it means that our logic job should be used in a spiritual way. So we can't, I always tell, we used to share that we cannot compete with logic people. What do you think? Can we compete with logic people in our logic job or not? What do you think? Can we compete with them or not? So sometimes we sort of compete with them in so many ways, and we know the logic world outside is totally different from what we are doing. So the way of doing well in the business, in the logic job, they are very in a very Kali Yuga way to get to the top. And if we are caught up in that sort of fashion, we're caught up in that trend, then very often we neglect our Brahmin life. And neglect Brahmin life means that we find that there are no more attainments in Brahmin life. We find that Brahmin life is dry, is same thing again and again. So these are some of the signs that we are not having a proper balance. And secondly, either that our consciousness in our logic job, we really have to review, really have to refocus again. Okay? So that is the fourth or fifth bondage. Fourth bondage. It means bondage to logic job. The other thing I think very important is, being a Brahmin as we progress is, we're bondage to titles as a Brahmin. When I say titles, we say sometimes that we are bondage to the fact that we are seniors in knowledge, We are seniors, we are expert, we are very good in at that particular area of service. We are very good at giving, example, giving commentary. I'm very good at cooking. I'm good at, I am the only one who's good at good at making book only on Thursday, The others are not so good as such. So what I'm trying to say, sometimes these titles we create within ourselves. And this, I feel, also is a form of bondage. So as such, I think to break that bondage, very, very important is, I know I love when we came in the early days, we love when Baba mentioned the word that we really have to be incognito, very quietly, We have to be incognito, we have to be unknown, No doubt we will be very well known later, So at this time we have to be very, very incognito, quiet. Look at Madhuban, those are very mistaken Madhuban for the past 2-3 weeks, Many souls, you can't hardly even see them. They come and go, But so much of work is done. So the fact that we have the quality of being incognito, the quality of being unknown helps tremendously. Because if we are too caught up in these self-created titles, then what do we want as a Brahmin? We want respect. We want regard from others. Fine, as Baba says, that we have to give respect, take respect, no doubt. Give regard to others. But I think that we shouldn't come to a stage where we are hungering, begging for this respect, begging for this regard from others. And if we don't get it, then what happened then? Then our life is up and down. So I think very important, the fifth bondage that we shouldn't have as a Brahmin is bondage to self-created titles. And the sixth bondage I think very important is, what else you think? As Baba was saying the last 15 December Muli is bondage to old sanskaras. Old sanskaras. So as Baba was saying that we have to free ourselves from the old world. Old world means old relationships, Old relationships. And importantly, I think very, very important, Baba was saying to free ourselves from the old sanskaras. I think the 15 November Muli, one point that touches me very much, but Baba was saying that all of us have realization, If you can recall back to Muli. And all of us have realization, but why we have realization, but the change is so minimal? So why on one hand we realize so much, but when it comes to practical day-to-day interaction, day-to-day life, we don't change. So what's the reason Baba was saying in that Muli? Basically, we're saying one very, very important point, that we have realization from the intellect. It just stop here. But we don't sort of, in a practical form, we don't have the realization. And that point Baba was saying that the best way actually to really have realization, merge in Baba's love, As I was saying much earlier, that the focus that Baba wants is not so much from doing much from the intellect, but doing from the heart. When doing from the heart, what I think Baba wants is really day to day we have to be a real yogi, practical yogi, honest yogi. And sometimes, there's a big gap between what we say and what we do. That means we are yogi, but not a practical yogi. Not a real yogi, not the honest yogi. Not the yogi that Baba wants, So that's the other bondage is bondage to our old sanskaras, I think one class Dadi Guza was saying, so those of us who are in Shantivan, I think after 30th November Muli, So Dadi was saying one point that whenever any old sanskaras come, if some of you can recall, just remind our own self that those sanskaras are the sanskaras of the media period. So what we want now is the sanskaras of a Brahmin and the deity sanskaras or the eternal sanskaras. And we don't really want any more of the media period sanskaras, corporate sanskaras. So anytime those sanskaras that come up, you will check within ourselves, are those sanskaras that Baba wants? Are those sanskaras of Brahma? Are those sanskaras of Shiv Baba? No? If not, then it's the media period sanskaras. Then we shouldn't even shouldn't even think of those sanskaras as such. So that is pertaining to the bondage of the old sanskaras. Then the other bondage, I think very, very important, that what Baba wants to free from us is bondage to our old language. So what the old language Baba doesn't want. So we know that Baba frees us from new language, from the old thoughts, also old language. What are the old language that Baba doesn't want us to use anymore? Things like what? Huh? It's always like that, yeah. What else? What other old language you use? My nature, My nature. The common word Baba, I think Ramesh Bhai was saying that these two words should never, never be in the Brahmin dictionary. It kills our effort making. That is I and mine. So the two words that I and mine should never, never be in our Brahmin dictionary. So I think what Baba wants is even, because sometimes what we speak are compelled by old sanskaras, And I think all of us have gone through different births. Even now, don't talk about different births. Even sometimes we have sanskaras of being a manager in office, We used to order people, Or probably we are very bossy back home, We used to order the children, we used to order the wife, doing things like this and that. Some of these old nature, old sanskaras comes in the form of language. It's my nature, my own nature like that, my way of thinking like that. And everybody is an effort maker, no one is perfect yet. And I think because what Baba's seeing is seeing the time. On one hand, the time. On the other hand, the level of effort we are making. He finds that this language you shouldn't use anymore. These are the old languages that we shouldn't use, shouldn't even think of it. Okay, what other bondages Baba was saying that other than these bondages? Also, in the 30th November Muli, Baba was saying that bondage to the sense organs, physical senses. And the solution to that, he was saying that the best solution to that is stay in self-respect. Stay in self-respect really means that, and that Muli Baba was reminding us, who are you? Who are you actually? If any of the senses control you, to remind yourself, who are you? You are Swadeshan Chakradhari, you are Master Almighty Authority. We really have to churn and think of this self-respect. And the more, as Baba was saying, that the more we're able to stay in this self-respect, points of self-respect, then what will probably happen is then the senses are under control. And one point I like very, very much that in the 30th November, Muli was saying that the best thing now, what we have to do, the effort we have to make now is we have to control the mind intellect. We control the mind intellect in such a way that it's totally under our control. Because if we cannot control mind and intellect, we cannot achieve the bodiless stage. And that he was saying at the very end that passing at the very end depends on the ability to control the mind intellect for a long period of time. You can recall that. Controlling the mind intellect for a long period of time, that will lead to the bodiless stage in a second, at the very, very end. So these are the types of bondages I was thinking about this morning, that what Baba wants is as a Brahmin to free from all these bondages. So we know that because once we have to be practical, once we're back home, back out our own logic places, and what are the bondages that really bind us, and throughout our Brahmin life, from morning to the night, whether we're in our logic job, in the center, in service, or whether in our self-progress. Think about the bondages that really binds us actually. These are the couple of bondages I was thinking very much this morning, that how we have to free ourselves from these bondages. No doubt we need to have gyan, no doubt. No? We need to have knowledge. We need to have yoga to free from these bondages. But the important thing is, whatever bondage we have, each of us are in a different circumstances, different situation. No? Some of us are in a logic family. So your situation is different, definitely. And some of us stay in the centers. Situations are different. And some of us have a logic job, some of us don't have. But at the end of the day, I think very, very important is, in whatever situation we are, I think the method or the way to cut away the bondages is how much we use Gyan and Yoga in the day-to-day living. So how much we use these points of knowledge, points of Gyan, or points of self-respect in our day-to-day interaction with others. So that much we're able to use it, and that much we're able to cut away these bondages. So these are some of the things that I was thinking this morning, what Baba meant by the word on freedom. On the 30th November Muli, Baba also mentioned that. That 30th November Muli is very interesting, as I think the second para, Baba talked very much about freedom, real freedom, no? And a couple of things he was mentioning, that he was saying that now is a time that we're free from impure thoughts, impure thoughts, old world and old sanskaras, and all the old relationships. Because sometimes when we look at Baba's knowledge, you look at God's education, and the word that I always love the word is new. Everything is new. Because sometimes anything happen to our daily life, we can't refer back to the old things. Sometimes we refer back to the scriptures. Some of us we take the reference of the scriptures. We take reference from our logic education. We take reference from our working experiences, from our logic life. But all these are old things. So what Baba wants is to come into the golden age. That's why this knowledge is new. So new means what? We have to have new what? New knowledge, new experiences, new sanskaras, and new relationships. All the relationships we have with people around us are all old. The logic people with logics and others are all old. So we have to form new relationship with Baba as such. So whatever important, I think very, very essential that whatever we create now as Sangam Yoga is everything new. So that's why very, very important when we tell people, no matter how new Brahmins as such, no matter how educated you are, no matter how many years in knowledge, no matter what is your past logic achievement, can be very high, never refer back to any old things. That means never take old things as a reference, You get it? You see, even for instance, my logic job being the deputy principal in the school, and sometimes the way to manage people around us, we can't use. We have to be spiritual, as such, being a Brahmin. That we can't tell others that I know more, not more than you. My experiences are better than you, because the way to deal with logics nowadays is they don't want to see any more arrogance and ego in us. They've seen enough actually. So what they want to see in Baba's children are humility, their respect, their love. So all these qualities are new. We are learning now. We don't learn in our logic days. We don't learn from our education. We have no chance actually, before being a Brahmin, we have no opportunity actually to learn even in a logic environment. So I think very, very essential that really to be the aspect of freedom means that we have to take new things, learning new things now. Everything new, Even the way to cook also we new, some of us brothers, we haven't even learned how to cook in our early days. We know the things that we do, everything is new, because I think once that eager, the longing, or the love for newness, that's create a sanskaras in us that we want to learn more, And also the other bondage I missed out earlier earlier on is very, very important is, being a Brahmin, I think very important is, we shouldn't be caught up in the old roles. Old roles, Sometimes we used to say that we're only good at giving courses. If you put me in another area, I can't do, I'm stuck. That means we're stuck in our role. So being a Brahmin, I think very, very essential is, we should be all-rounder, I think to survive as a Brahmin, any Brahmin we can tell any Brahmin, once they start becoming a Brahmin, the first thing they have to learn. What's the first thing they have to learn? Yeah. So they have to learn to come from Muli, no doubt. They have to learn to getting up, there's no doubt, Learn getting up early in the morning, learn to probably taking shower before you come to class, All these things you learn. But the essential thing, I mean each of us have our own experience. I think essential thing that each and every Brahmin should learn is learn to cook. And some Brahmins are so dependent on others for cooking. I don't know. What do you think? You're bondage to others to cook. The moment that cook or that Brahmin is not around means, what are you going to do? How are you going to survive as a Brahmin? Physically, I'm talking about physically, you see. So coming back here, I think very, very essential is, you see, once you come into Baba's home, ample opportunities to learn. You see? Ample actually in each and every corner, whether we are giving course, whether we are doing karma yoga, whether we are explaining exhibitions, whether we are writing a commentary, because each and every area is actually emerging our specialities. And sometimes we think that we only have one speciality. So what do you think? You have one specialty or you have 36 specialties or more? So we think that we only have one or two specialties, and we hold on to their specialities. And once you're holding on to their speciality, then we are not giving room for other specialities within ourselves to discover other specialities. This is very, very important when we came in the early days, is when the center is small. We sort of learn everything. And the way to learn everything, I think very, 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 very essential is the sort of the consciousness of Haji. That means whatever role that Baba has put me in each and every area is something I will learn that I can't learn from the Lokik world. Don't you think so? So the important thought that we have is, what I learn from a center, I can never learn from the world outside. So if that attitude we have, then you find that Baba give a lot of power, a lot of strength. I think there's so many Yagya stories that Dewan Dadi related, during our 2-3 weeks here, that so many experiences Dadi was saying at the beginning. They sort of refused to leave Madhuban to go for outside service. And Baba always tells them that since you are chosen by God, since you are chosen by God, definitely you have that power. You have that strength, you have that specialty to do it. So very often, we look at ourselves in the old way. We look at ourselves the way others look at us, the Lokik look at us. So coming back here, I think very, very important is one of the areas you have to be free from bondage as a Brahmin is not to be bondage in our role that we are playing. So we should be able to do anything. Anytime we are called, then we should be able to help. As Baba was saying very, very often, that Baba gives the maximum power that those in the need of time of the Yagya, that children come to help. I think all of us in a Lokik way, in the need of a time, you want some help, and that person come in front of you, so that we give so much thanks or so much gratitude to that person. Am I right? Probably, let's say, given a simple example, and if you have a heart attack now, if nobody around me will die, and at that moment that person come and save you. So what happened if you are safe? Then you give so much of gratitude, so much of thanks, so much of blessings to that person. So in the same case that at times when Baba needs us, anywhere, anytime, we are called. And then if the attitude of Haji to do it, Haji. And not Haji reluctantly, but Haji that what I get from that area, or what I get from that role I'm doing, or that service I'm doing. So much of blessing, so much of power, so much of love I'm getting. So that area, I think, very, very essential, that not to be stuck up in any role, and be prepared to do anything, no? Anyway. Okay? So these are some of the thoughts that I was having this morning, no? Maybe some of you can sort of give some of your experiences on true freedom as a Brahmin, no? Any one of you have any experiences? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I think also the other very important area that if you're not all-rounder, no, you can ask myself, if I'm not all-rounder, what happens if Baba speaks on the muli? Let's say give an example. If you doesn't like exhibitions, okay? You probably only like to confine yourself in some other roles. If on that very day Baba speaks about exhibition, you won't feel it actually. You know? You won't feel how God feels, serving thousands in exhibitions probably. So that means sometimes whatever role or whatever areas you have done, we have gone through, the next day when it appears in the muli, then you really appreciate the situation, no? Situation. That means you feel others' problems, or you feel the world how God feels it. You see, like for example, Baba was saying that the food that you cook in remembrance, then you can sort of give others so much of happiness. Really that, I think some of us have been through, we have cooked for others in the bhatti, example, in the bhatti, in some programs, and you find that after the program, even most of the time you're in the kitchen, people hardly see you, but you find that the blessings that people get, after eating the Brahma Bhojan, you feel that your yoga is much better, your concentration is better. Don't you feel that? No, there are sometimes situations where you don't have to be in front of the Brahmins, in front of the audience, but things that you do from the back, that the blessings that comes from others that give you so much of happiness, that everything is easy for you, Whereas others are running around, example, a contrast side, running around here and there, but not doing the right consciousness. You find that probably their life is not that free compared to yours, So I think if you look at all the Sakha Mulis that Baba mentioned, every time he mentioned, it's on different aspects, As I was saying earlier, sometimes on museums, sometimes in exhibitions, or sometimes serving in the temple, example. If some of us have never been to a temple, we haven't been to a temple, haven't served in a temple, even temples are there, then you find that when Baba mentioned about temple service, you don't feel it. Because you're not in that situation, because you haven't experienced those situations, those real life situations. Don't you think so? So you see, whatever experiences we have gone through, that once it comes out in the muli the next day or the next week or the following days, you find that your feeling with God is much closer. And then you find that your dharana increases, your churning increases, your yoga increases. Because you have gone through that. So what I'm trying to say is, being a yogi, being a BK is not just merely sitting, reading the muli, underlying the muli, that's all. I think Asha Ben in Delhi was mentioning one very good point, in Shantivan. We were back, I think about 2 weeks back. She was saying that most Brahmins, 99% Brahmins, they read the muli, they listen to the muli, but very few what? Study the muli. And she was asking one point, what does study the muli means? So we read muli, all of us reading muli, Probably after morning muli we read a few times, one time in the morning, one time in the evening. We listen to the muli, but very few Brahmins study the muli. So what the study means, no? Is for all of us to churn. No? Huh? Depth of the muli. Yeah. One aspect, as sister was saying, going to the depth of the muli. What else? Study the muli. Huh? Yeah? Change in behavior. Practically, we're talking about, if you hold a paper now, okay? Or you listen to muli, you study the muli. So what the study means? We all godly students, no? Embodiment of it. Yeah. Embodiment of it, going depth into it. Yeah, brothers? What the study muli means? I think all of us have own experiences, no? I think one point, one aspect she was saying, study the muli means that you really practically do it. Practically do it, no? Like for instance, that morning Muli Baba says keep a chart. Okay, keep a chart. So it doesn't mean you keep a chart up here. Keep a chart means that that day itself or that evening itself, really take it physically, do a chart. Or maybe that Muli Baba was saying that, if you can have 8 hours of remembrance, it's good. No? So 8 hours of remembrance, we know it's not difficult for us to have a Lokik job, no? For those who don't have Lokik job, probably it's much easier. Not to say I won't mean that it's easier. So practically, some Brahmins, they do it, they try, even their Lokik job. So at least 1 hour in the morning, full 1 hour, 4 to 5, solid 1 hour. Okay? And come back after work, maybe another 2 hours. 2 hours or 3 hours, and in between, there's still some time. So study means that you really sort of not a theoretical yogi, not sort of an intellectual yogi, but on the ground yogi, doing it, So that means study the muli. So that means that muli is just not merely just reading, underlying, and just keep it there. We have to sort of perform out, do it in action. Yeah, sister. Yeah. Got it? Sister's experience. That means there's never end to learning, no? So learning is not just merely in a classroom, no? So I think some of us are educators, I think some of us are teachers here, no? We know that education means the formal, the informal learning, no? So similarly in Baba study means that muli means study means not just merely in a class or giving lectures, it's more than that. We have to be that, embodiment of that, as sister was saying. You see, sometimes, I think one point also they shared very much in one of our classes. I think some of us are here in Shanti, when they're saying that, how do we measure a Brahmin? Worthiness of a Brahmin. It's not so much of how good you are giving a lecture or a class, or how good you give a commentary, or sort of how delicious the food that you cook. But I think the worthiness to measure a Brahmin means that real dharana. That means if Baba says that, to be really humble, respect. If you're not doing it on a day-to-day living, then it's difficult to win others' heart. No? You see, one thing if you look at Dadi, how Dadi wins people's heart. No? They are very simple-minded. No? They are other than, you see, the words that they speak, no doubt the words that they speak touch others, but I think that day-to-day, they concern. No? Even the other day, Dadi was asking Shanti, every time when she comes, what she normally asks, are all of you okay? Is the weather cold? Do you have enough blankets? Blankets or room are comfortable? Is there any hot water? You see, these things to ordinary people may be simple, but it's a caring. It's a caring is that sort of, I would say, real dharana, on the ground, sort of caring for others. Because being a yogi, sometimes we have to ask ourselves that it's just more than just speaking. As I was saying earlier on this, it's much more, people measure you much more from your doing, doing side. The people obviously say, you don't be a preacher, but you have to be a practitioner. You have to do it. So it's not that we don't speak Gyan, we have to share Gyan, we have to chant Gyan, there's no doubt. We have to quote what Baba is saying, there's no doubt we have to do that. But on the other level that probably we are lacking very much is doing it, winning people's heart. As Baba was saying, I think in the whole four mulis, that what he wants is winning Brahmin's heart. It means serving Brahmins as such, And the way to serve Brahmins is not, as the latest Muli Baba was saying, is not correcting others. Even earlier Baba was saying, even correcting with forgiveness, correcting with mercy. But even the latest Muli was saying that we don't correct others now. We just have to give love, give cooperation. The latest, giving love, giving cooperation. To me, that is the real sign of a inculcation of qualities that Baba teaches us. So I always tell others, I always share with them that we don't ever teach others. Who teach others? Only God teach. Because even you have 600,000 Brahmins, it doesn't mean 600,000 teachers. Teacher is only one. Actually, Baba is teacher. Teacher is only one. So let Baba correct someone through the muli. Let Baba correct someone either through yoga, through realization. So my role is not to correct others, not to teach others as such. Our love is to share. Share love and give cooperation. Okay, any others have any experience? Sisters? Or totally free? Yeah. Yeah. I thought that the brother was sharing free from being a double foreigner. Yeah, good experience. Free from being a double foreigner. Okay, others? Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. That means there are some good drug addicts, there are some good drunkards, huh? Yeah, they are the qualities, they are good. No, no one want to be a drunken, no one want to be a drug addict, no? The karma or the sanskaras compel them in such a way, there has to be that, no? Yeah. Yeah.